Hello everyone, Luke here. Welcome to my ranking of all the full-time drivers in Formula 1 this season. We're not counting those who just did a couple of races like Hülkenberg, Aitken and Fittipaldi. We don't really have a lot to judge them on, and we are only basing the drivers on their performances this season. So any bad performances in previous years, any good performances in previous years won't have any effect. But let's start from the bottom. Let's start with number 20. And in 20th place, it is Alexander Albon. The bare minimum that was expected from him by the Red Bull team this season was 4th position, and on too many occasions he failed to meet that target. Yes, the Red Bull did have quite a few awkward handling characteristics, but if anything, Alex seemed to drop back from where he was at the end of 2019, and with plenty of young drivers in the Red Bull programme, it remains to be seen whether he'll have another chance at the Milton Keynes team. Another driver who struggled with car instabilities is the man I've placed in number 19, Sebastian Vettel. It's fair to say it was a bit of an annus horribilis for the 4-time world champion this year, really overshadowed by the great performances from Charles Leclerc, and he'll definitely be hoping that a move to Aston Martin next season rekindles the fire within him, otherwise it may not be too long before the German decides to hang up his helmet. In 18th place is a man who made his debut in Formula 1 this year, Nicholas Latifi. It's not like the Canadian did anything wrong in the Williams, but he was badly overshadowed in qualifying by his teammate. He looked a bit closer to Russell in the race, hasn't really done enough to shake off the pay driver tag, although that is going to be very hard in a car which failed to score points all season. These next 4 drivers could have been placed in any order, really, but I've gone for the championship order. So in 17th place, it is Kevin Magnussen. It's not like the Dane did a lot wrong this year when he had a chance to score points at the Hungarian Grand Prix. He took it, but in the Haas car, it's always going to be really difficult to prove yourself, and it's perhaps not too surprising to see him exiting Formula 1 at the end of the season. Of course, Magnussen's teammate Roman Grosjean will be happy that he can just walk away from Formula 1 this season after that horrific accident at the Bahrain Grand Prix. I've ranked him in 16th place. He did outqualify his teammate 8-7 this season, so a pretty good performance. But you've got to feel that at his age now, in his mid-30s, it's probably the end of the Frenchman's F1 career. In 15th place, it's Antonio Giovinazzi. Managed to outqualify Kimi Raikkonen 9-8 this season, despite being beaten by him in the championship. Just get the feeling the Italian hasn't really done enough to prove that he belongs in Formula 1. And you do imagine that if Ferrari had a lot of faith with him, they'd have promoted him to the Ferrari seat rather than going outside of the team and signing Carlos Sainz. In 14th place, it's Kimi Raikkonen. Did manage to score more points than Giovinazzi this season, and the oldest man in Formula 1 at 41 years old, every time he had a chance of scoring points, he seemed to take it. He beat both of the Ferraris at the Belgian Grand Prix, which might have put a smile on the Iceman's face, but how much longer does he really want to spend driving around at the back of the grid, fighting for the final couple of points? In 13th place, it's Daniel Kvyat. The Russian seemed to struggle at the start of the season, but his form did improve as the year went on, culminating in a fantastic 4th place at the Imola Grand Prix. Unfortunately for him, it was too little too late to save his job, but it might be worth following the path of Buemi and Verne and going into either sports cars and Formula E to try and rekindle his career. In 12th place, it's Esteban Ocon. Another driver who improved as the season went on, which was perhaps understandable given that he missed 2019 testing for Mercedes. He didn't really match up to Daniel Ricciardo as closely as some people might have imagined. Did get his first podium with a 2nd place in Bahrain, and it will be very interesting to see how he matches up next year at Renault alongside a returning Fernando Alonso. And in 11th place, it's Lance Stroll. The Canadian has definitely improved his qualifying form in 2020. I just get a funny feeling that COVID diagnosis took a bit out of him towards the end of the season, and he did seem to struggle more as the year went on. A fantastic pole position in Turkey. It's just a shame that he got damaged in the race, because who knows whether we might have seen the first Canadian winner in Formula 1 for 24 years. Starting off the top 10, it's Valtteri Bottas. Yes, he won 2 races. Yes, he finished 2nd in the championship, but did any of us really expect that he'd be able to take the fight to Lewis Hamilton? Again, he started off well and seemed to tail off as the season went on, and he only beat Lewis 4 times. 3 of those times, the Brit had a penalty, and the other one, Lewis was just recovering from his COVID diagnosis. Next up, it's the 2 McLaren drivers, with Lando Norris taking 9th position. The young Brit got his first ever podium at the Austrian Grand Prix, and he once again just edged out his teammate Carlos Sainz in the qualifying battle. do get a feeling though that if Carlos had maybe had a bit more luck on Sundays, the gap would have ended up being bigger than the 8 points that it was at the end of the year. In 8th place, it is Carlos Sainz. A second successive year of finishing 6th in the Drivers' Championship helped McLaren secure their best Constructors' Championship result in 8 years. I do wonder though if the Ferrari-bound driver might have a tinge of regret over the 2020 season. He just missed out on a victory at the Italian Grand Prix, and he did briefly get up to 2nd at the Sakhir Grand Prix, ending up missing out on the podium. And in 7th position, it is George Russell. After a bad restart at the Tuscan Grand Prix and crashing out under the safety car at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, you did wonder if the young Brit was destined to score no points this season. However, he grabbed his chance at the Mercedes team with both hands in Sakhir and should have won that race if it wasn't for a bodged pit stop and a puncture towards the end. He's definitely given Mercedes a few selection headaches in the future, and I can't see him sitting in that Williams team too much longer. In 6th place, it's Daniel Ricciardo. A fantastic performance this season from the Australian, finishing 5th in the championship and getting his first 2 podiums since 2018, meaning Cyril Abiteboul is going to have to take a trip down to the tattoo parlours real soon. Very looking forward to seeing how Daniel does at McLaren next year, especially with the Mercedes engines, and it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up taking the Woking team's first win since the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix. Starting off the top 5, it is Charles Leclerc. A fantastic season this year from the Monegasque driver, especially in qualifying where he put that car in places that it definitely didn't deserve to be. Somehow, he managed to get 2 podiums in dry conditions, but there was the odd bit of first lap frustration at the Styrian Grand Prix, Russian Grand Prix, and at the Sakhir Grand Prix, and you do wonder if he would do the same thing though if he wasn't fighting against the car so often. In 4th place, I think it's fair to say none of us expected this man to take a Grand Prix victory this year, but being in the right place at the right time definitely helped Pierre Gasly at Monza, and he grabbed that opportunity to take the first victory for a Frenchman since Olivier Panis at the 1996 Monaco Grand Prix. He might feel a tad aggrieved though to have not been looked at for that second seat at Red Bull once again, and I'm sure he'll have fire in his belly in 2021 to try and prove that he deserves a promotion to the top team once again. In 3rd position, it's Sergio Perez. It's amazing to think that it took so long for him to be confirmed at Red Bull for 2021, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does against Max Verstappen in a top car for the first time in his career. Got a fantastic first ever victory at the Sakhir Grand Prix, but did put in fantastic performances at pretty much most of the races he was in this season, finishing best of the rest despite missing both of the Silverstone races with COVID-19. In 2nd place, it is the Flying Dutchman, Max Verstappen. He seems to be going from strength to strength, and we keep forgetting he is still only 23 years old and has plenty of time to improve in Formula 1. Got to think though, if Red Bull gave him a car that could challenge consistently for the championship, how close could he get to taking that first driver's title? And it's no surprise that the 2020 Drivers' Champion takes number 1 on my list. Lewis Hamilton was in imperious form on occasions this season, with Portugal, Turkey and Imola being some of the best performances I have seen in my years of watching the sport. An 8th driver's title looks to be a shoo-in next year, and it wouldn't surprise me if he carries on for a few more years, frustrating his rivals even more. Well, that is the end of this video where we have ranked all the drivers from 2021. Do you agree with my picks? Where would you have placed the drivers? And do you think it'll look slightly different next season? Feel free to let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you for watching.